Jackson Arnold is killing it through 2 games, completing passes to everyone. Is Jackson Arnold to Cam Coleman the most prolific wide receiver QB tandem in the conference? Welcome on into the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. I'm your host, Mike G. Turn us on, turn us up. We'll turn it out. I'm here with my good friend Caesar Walker to talk a little Auburn football. Caesar, on today's show, we're going to talk about that Auburn passing game and Jackson Arnold to Cam Coleman. Is it the most prolific we've seen at Auburn in quite some time? Could it be? Well, we're going to delve into that, and then we'll talk about the larger implications of this passing game as Auburn takes on South Alabama next, and then eventually Oklahoma in Norman in a couple weeks. Let's start at the top here. He was the most targeted receiver by Jackson Arnold. He had 8 targets, averaging 11 yards per catch. Cam Coleman, Auburn's leading receiver there on Saturday night versus an overmatched opponent. They were overmatched, clearly, and it looked like it. Auburn dominated the football game, allowing only 65 yards on defense, but I thought they would score more on offense in this one. Before we get too far into Jackson Arnold, Cam Coleman, were you a little shocked they didn't score more than 42?
Yeah, but I don't think it's cause for concern or even being alarmed, Mike. Auburn coaches had a decision to make. Obviously, they're more than capable of putting up numbers like Florida State did against some directional Texas opponent, and what Alabama did to La Monroe on this past Saturday. Auburn was fully capable of doing that, but Auburn had a decision to make. They're about to go into SEC play in a couple of weeks. Hugh Freeze said during fall camp that the dropback passing game is something that they need to work on. You're facing off against an overmatched opponent who's no threat to really put points on the board against you. So what do you decide to do? Let's take this time to work on the very thing that Auburn has to improve upon going into conference play. Brent Venables is not going to allow Jackson Arnold to just read option his defense up and down the field in Norman in a couple of weeks. We're going to put Auburn in a situation where they're going to have to drop back and throw the football. So what better time is any to use that against an opponent like Ball State to pass the ball, not run a lot of RPO, protect Jackson Arnold for a game, not put any wear and tear on him running up and down the field. Let's throw the ball to these receivers who didn't get a lot of targets in the last game because Baylor was determined to not allow them to throw the ball. So let's throw the ball and air it out, and let's just see how things go. And Jackson Arnold, for the most part, did very well. 24 of 28, no turnovers, 3 touchdowns. He had a good showing. To get to your question about Cam Coleman, there was a lot of short routes that Ball State just conceded. I mean, it's crazy to me, Mike, that through 2 games, we have seen defenses defend Auburn in ways that's totally different from what we've seen in recent years. Teams have stacked the box and loaded the box and have dared Auburn to throw. Auburn is now daring you either to run the ball or throw short. They don't want you to take the top off because they are afraid of Cam Coleman getting behind them. They are afraid of Eric Singleton getting behind them, Malcolm Simmons, and a whole host of other receivers who are threats to really take the top off of the defense. So to see Auburn actually execute against Baylor running an RPO, Auburn can run the ball. Against Ball State, Auburn showed that, hey, we can hit you for these little hitches, these little short passing plays that you're conceding. And Jackson Arnold was spot on that night and really connecting with those receivers. And it was impressive to see how well that they were able to do that and be patient for the most part with what was given to them. I would like to see moving forward, Mike, in order for this offense to truly take the next step, for them to actually take the top off of a defense. Eventually, someone is going to test them and dare them to throw deep. Jackson Arnold and the host of receivers need to be ready.
They do need to be ready. You mentioned the emphasis on getting the ball to the receivers. In game 1 versus Baylor, only 15 targets total for the receivers. In game 2 here versus Ball State, 32 targets. So over twice as many opportunities to catch the ball for the Auburn receivers. In game one, Cam Coleman caught 1 pass on 3 targets. In this game, he caught 7 passes on 8 targets. So he was the most targeted wide receiver in this one. Horatio Fields was next. He caught 6 passes on 6 targets. However, Caesar, Jackson Arnold and Cam Coleman appear to have a special connection. It looks like these guys are reading each other out there. There was a play early in the first half where Cam came back to the ball for Jackson, and he was running a route and kind of read something in the defense, and Jackson saw him kind of sit down in the pocket, and he put the ball on him, and it was a gain of like 11 or 12. And I thought to myself, well, that's something we haven't seen at Auburn in quite some time. A receiver and a quarterback seemingly on the same page. These are 2 5-star guys out there just playing 5-star ball, right? And I'm sure they got 5-star chicks. That's a rap song. But look, I like what I'm seeing from them, and it produced 77 yards here. It's only a matter of time before this number gets into the triple digits, because if they're going to give Cam 8 to 10 targets a game, I gotta imagine it's only a matter of time before he breaks one. He was trying real hard. He was trying to hurdle people. He did his best Sammy Coates impression on the guy on Saturday, just pushing him to the ground. He was doing it all out there.
Yeah, he was, Mike, and I think that again we're seeing things through 2 games of this season that we have not seen. I remember, and I hate to do this to you, Mike, but I remember when Hugh Freeze first got to Auburn, and he talked about the receivers loafing. There was complaints about what the receivers were not doing as opposed to his expectation. Obviously, we're not hearing those types of complaints in year 3, thank God. And to see it play out on the field where receivers just know where to be. They know where to find that soft spot in the zone, and the QB is right on the money to deliver them the football. No better than one of your best receivers in Cam Coleman, who's doing that with your receiver Jackson Arnold. It was great to see that type of connection with those receivers, and it really speaks to how much this offense has improved in the passing attack, Mike. That Hugh Freeze is in the coaching staff is developing a comfort level with these receivers, and that affects play calling. When your quarterback and receivers know where to be when a play breaks down, it affects how the coaches call the game. Remember, 2 years ago, you couldn't call plays like this. You couldn't call a lot of passing plays because you were concerned about receivers not knowing where to be and where to go. If that has changed in year 3, then it opens up the playbook for these coaches to attack opposing defenses when they show you different looks. And so, to your point, yes, Cam Coleman will definitely break one eventually. Malcolm Simmons, Eric Singleton, those guys will break one eventually because it's a matter of time where teams will begin to squat on routes, move people in the box, and dare you to beat them deep. Jackson Arnold, like I said, Jackson Arnold needs to be ready to deliver the football because those receivers are ready. They've been itching to get behind the defense all season long and haven't had a chance to do it. Jackson Arnold needs to be ready to see that once that opens up for him.
What are the larger implications for the Auburn passing game as they approach SEC play? Auburn opens up with Oklahoma and Norman. Then they travel to College Station versus Texas A&M, and they round out those first 3 games after a bye week with Georgia at home in Jordan-Hare. They come back to the Plains for what could be a huge game. We're going to talk about the larger implications of this pass game right after a quick word from our sponsors, our friends at the Vibe Vault. If you're in the Columbus, Phoenix City area and you're looking to get fresh for the weekend, visit the Vibe Vault. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. That's right across the street from Chattahoochee Valley Community College, next to the Renfro's Supermarket and the Marco's Pizza. The Vibe Vault, not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. Also want to thank our friends at AIM and Associates. That's Abels, Inon, and more. Retirement planning is critical no matter what your circumstances. And if you're young and you're just getting started, retirement might be the last thing on your mind, but developing a plan early can have a huge impact on your long-term financial success. If you're in the middle of your career or starting to see retirement on the horizon, it's just as important to review your situation to ensure you're on track to maintain your lifestyle when you retire. Abel's Unknown Moore and Associates is the firm to contact. They offer a no-cost initial consultation, don't sell products, and won't give you a sales pitch. Instead, you'll get a clear picture of whether you're positioned well for your eventual retirement and whether their approach to investing and asset management is a good fit for you. Call Aim & Associates at 912-777-4128 or visit AIMAINC.com. That's AIMAINC.com. The War Report has been compensated by Abel's Unknown Moore Associates for this endorsement. Aim & Associates is a registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. The information in this advertisement is for informational purposes only and should not be considered personalized investment advice. All investing involves risk, including the loss of potential principal, and past performance is not indicative of future results. Contact Aim & Associates today. Get started on your path to financial freedom. I want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORTER. Get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. If you are looking for some non-traditional remedies to some traditional problems, the Rogue Shop may have something that's a good fit for you. Not against traditional medicine, but also there are some natural things out there that can help you sleep better, help you, have more energy, things that affect your everyday life. Everyday products sometimes are needed. So visit therogueshop.com. Again, use code REPORTER to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Our guy Richard dropping a little something special in there for everybody using code REPORTER today. Last but certainly not least, I want to thank our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code, get your weight up for 15% off your weights, and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. You want to be outside, hanging out with your family around the grill, or maybe just staying in shape with some Golden's Cast Iron weights. This humidity is no joke, Caesar. Out here, if you're going to be out there, it might as well be because you're grilling something on a Golden's Cast Iron grill. Again, visit goldenscastiron.com/WR and use the codes on the screen to get your discount on your Golden's products today. Workout, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. What are the larger implications for the Auburn passing a game? Look, if Jackson Arnold is going to be as accurate as he has been through these first two games, I got to think Auburn's going to be all right. As we mentioned at the top of the show, there was a larger emphasis put on passing the ball. As a matter of fact, Auburn was almost dead even in terms of run-pass ratio. I think it was 33 passes to 34 runs or something like this. In game one versus Baylor, they leaned on the run to a 75-25 run-pass ratio in favor of the run. You only do that because something's working extremely right, and you don't have to do the other thing to win. In that case, it was the run game helping Auburn protect the football and control the clock. So, look, we needed an accurate Jackson Arnold. There was a bunch of Baylor media saying all kind of crazy, inaccurate things about Jackson Arnold in the lead up to the Baylor game. He has proved not only to be poised and have confidence, but to be accurate. 24 for 28, man. I like what I'm seeing from Jackson Arnold so far. And the scary part is there's still room for him to improve.
Agreed. And for all of the critiques about Jackson Arnold's game, one of the critiques was not that he was inaccurate as a QB. And that was one of the things that people raved about when he got to Auburn and was in practice, is that he was a pretty accurate quarterback, which is very important. I think the biggest things that we've noticed about Jackson Arnold, one of the things that I will point out that I saw is that he did hold on to the ball a little bit longer than I would have liked to in the second game. But I think a lot of that dealt with some of the things that Hugh Freeze has also pointed out in fall camp, that Jackson Arnold has a tendency to try to be a little greedy. By greedy, trying to go with his first read, which is a big play. Again, going for the big play, going for the home run play. Oftentimes that's a slower developing play when it's not open and it's not there, check down to the next guy. Again, it's not a big play. And there's a tendency, Mike, when you get into these games against the Ball States of the world, you feel like, hey, man, we can just air this out. We can go for the knockout punch. Let's go for it. When really the coaches want you in the passing attack to have the similar approach that you had against Baylor when you were running the football. Just take what the defense is giving you. And sooner or later, that home run play will be there, but you don't have to force things. And because when you force things, you do hang on to the ball. You are asking your offensive line to protect you much longer than what's reasonable. And so those are the things that I'm hoping to get corrected as Auburn moves forward, starting with South Alabama, is that Jackson Arnold is able to move off of his first read immediately and go to his second read, go through his progressions and make timely decisions, because when you get to Oklahoma, Mike, there's a shorter window of time for you to make those decisions. And so what I'm looking to see for Jackson Arnold in the next game is that he's able to process what he's seeing in the passing game a lot faster than what he did against Ball State.
Yeah, look, they put an emphasis on it because they did not get a ton on tape versus Baylor. They didn't have to, though. No. So it wasn't that they couldn't pass. They just didn't, and there was no reason to force it there. But Cam Coleman, 100 yards receiving through 2 games. He's got to be a 1,000-yard receiver this year. That only happens if Jackson Arnold sees him early. Often I would like to see him in that 8 to 10 target a game like range moving forward, but you've got to use your playmakers. And Cam Coleman showed you on Saturday, if you get the ball in his hands, he's going to make plays. They were having fun out there, man. Like Cam looked like he was playing with an attitude. He was having fun. And then on the flip side, Eric Singleton looked every bit of the 4.2 speed that we saw on the wheel routish looking touchdown that he caught there, his first touchdown catch as an Auburn Tiger. These guys looked pretty dialed in to me. Horatio Fields didn't exactly look like a game breaker, just a reliable receiver that just kind of catches things that you throw at him. And, a little tough to tackle there on the back end once he gets going. I like what I'm seeing from this passing game, and I hope that it can continue, because at the end of the day, we're 2 games in. Cam Coleman has 8 catches, right? The leading Auburn receiver has maybe been somewhere in the mid 50s. I would like to see Cam Coleman. I would like to see Jackson Arnold find Cam Coleman 70 to 80 times this season minimum. So they're going to have to ramp up the production here to get him there. But I mean, he affects the game so much. You got to try to get him the ball that much. The better receivers in the league of the last few years have had upwards of 80 plus receptions, maybe closer to 100.
Yeah, and that's going to be tough, because I know the running game is going to factor heavily into this, Mike. Sure. And I think that I like the fact that Auburn was very balanced against Ball State, and I think that's going to be the goal that this coaching staff chooses to go for. I agree that you brought your receivers to Auburn not for them to pass block, or not for them to run block, excuse me. You brought them to Auburn because they expected to get a lion's share of targets throughout the course of the season. And I agree, they're going to have to ramp it up, but I think there'll be opportunities for them to ramp it up. Again, if Jackson Arnold is every bit of the threat that he's proved to be against Baylor, teams aren't going to want him to continue to do that to them. There will be opportunities for him to throw the football downfield. And I think there'll be plenty of opportunities for these receivers. I've been impressed. You talk about how Cam Coleman has been able to be on the same page with his quarterback. Horatio Fields has been the same way as well. He just knows where to be when you need him to be there. And so I think with these receivers, Mike, I think there'll be plenty of opportunities. What we're seeing, if we're just going to be honest, I think teams are really respecting the threat that is the Auburn passing attack. Even though Auburn has not showed a lot on film, teams are terrified about the potential for what these guys can do. And I think that's a big part of why a lot of those targets aren't where we thought they would be 2 games through the season, teams really are respecting and playing off of the line of scrimmage because they do not want to be on a highlight, Mike. Eventually that will happen because you're going to have to play Auburn. You're going to have to respect what Auburn is doing.
Poison.
Yeah. So eventually someone is going to bring a safety in and dare you to throw. Again, these guys will get their opportunities. I'm hoping it's as soon as this upcoming Saturday against South Alabama ahead of Oklahoma. But I know when we get into SEC play, these guys will definitely have opportunities to shine.
Protect the football, Caesar. If Jackson Arnold can continue to protect the football,
yes,
put the ball in the correct ball placement, Auburn, sky's the limit. Again, it's the scary thing is they still have room to improve. Through two games, Hugh Freeze's squad is averaging, drum roll, 40 points per game on offense. Look, I know that's going to come back down to earth at some point, but for a team that if they could have just scored 28 in most of their like SEC games, they would have won almost all of them, except for maybe Georgia. So, and even maybe that one, if you get to 28 and you take the field goal off the board for Georgia because you take a drive away from them. I know that sounds like a bunch of fan service, but it's the truth. We have the data. We can look back and say, if Auburn scores 28, they beat Vanderbilt. If Auburn scores 28, they beat Arkansas. They beat Oklahoma. They beat a lot of teams that they lost to last year. You know, you maybe tie Alabama and head to overtime. You beat Cal. You win a lot of games that you lose. And so I can't wait to see what this offense looks like as they continue to improve, because make no mistake, they still have room to improve. Damari Alston was held out on Saturday, another weapon, but we got to see Darrell Robinson. We got to see lots of Jeremiah Cobb. I called, I think, 120 and 2 tutties for him. He got the 2 touchdowns, and the yardage was about where I expected it to. I just expected Cam to be a little higher on the yardage. I thought he would catch a bomb or something. Yeah, it really happened for him in this game, and he didn't get in the end zone, but Eric Singleton Jr. did. And Malcolm Simmons looked like a playmaker out there. There was a play out there where he hit like a double spin.
Oh yeah,
they look like he was playing NCAA out there, man. Auburn has stupid athleticism. This is insane, the amount of talent Hugh Freeze has amassed. Hopefully they can win the requisite amount of football games to maybe host a playoff game. Too early, maybe to tell, but I'm going to keep hoping until such a time as my hope becomes a reality. Caesar Walker, co-show host here at the War Report. I want to thank you for joining me on today's show. Guys, that's it for another great edition of the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. Do us a favor. Tell us what you think about the Jackson Arnold to Cam Coleman connection. Is it the most prolific in the conference? Will it be at the end of the season? We want to hear from you. And while you're in that comment section, do us a favor, smash that super thanks button. Your financial support helps keep the work that we're doing at the War Report here going. Please hit like and subscribe. We are the War Report on every social media platform. TW Report on the TikToks. Guys, we'll be back at you tomorrow with more Auburn Express. We're signing off, and as always, for you.